I don't do this very often, but I was rewatching some of my old videos and I came across my preseason predictions video I did way back at the beginning of February, and let's just say I got some things right, but I also got some things pretty horribly wrong. We're going to talk about that and some other important NASCAR news on today's episode. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric, and welcome back to Out of the Groove. Today's episode was kind of requested by you guys. I've gotten quite a few comments on some of my recent episodes from you guys asking me to do something like this, so in today's episode, I'm going to be looking back at my preseason playoff predictions and comparing them to the current standings, the current, playoff landscape in NASCAR, and seeing how close I was, seeing where I was right, where I was wrong, and see who's trending upwards as we head into the final 4-week stretch of the regular season. But we also have some news to talk about, but before all of that, I want to give a big shout out to Footy. I know I'm using my hands, but ignore that. Footy, could use my feet, I guess. Oh gosh. Knock the fan off the roof. They sent me a couple of these things and they're kind of fun to play with. You can build them yourself out of these little plastic pieces. When I'm editing videos or watching sports, I just like to kind of toss it around, and it's just kind of a fun thing to play with. So check them out, footy.com. That's Footy with 3 O's. And you can use promo code GROOVY for free shipping. So check them out. This thing is indestructible. I mean, goodness gracious. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about some breaking news this week. Adam Stern from Sports Business Journal tweeted this report out yesterday. According to him, he says, NASCAR must soon deliver the terms of a renewed charter system to teams who will find out if they will get an increase in league revenue from 2021 through 2024. NASCAR has until November 1st of this year to give the teams the details. He also reports that under the current deal, teams this year will get about $260 million in total to be distributed amongst themselves, with money coming in from TV, tracks, and NASCAR itself. A lot of big money numbers being thrown around right there, but this is kind of important for a number of reasons. We've seen more and more drivers and teams and just people within the sport of NASCAR in recent months, recent years, kind of speak out about NASCAR, the way they distribute revenue. NASCAR is currently in the middle of 2 multi-billion-dollar TV contracts, one with Fox and one with NBC, and now that money is distributed to a number of places. A large portion of that goes towards the racetracks that NASCAR races on. And we've seen from financial reports from SMI and ISC that the majority of their revenue comes from that TV money. Not ticket sales, not merchandise sales, not other things. Nope, it's mostly TV money. That's what the tracks care about. And then some of that TV money goes to NASCAR itself, but then another significant portion goes to the race teams. But the debate recently has become, should the race teams get more? And with this charter system and the fact that we've seen more teams leave the Cup Series than join it in recent years, this is why this has kind of become a debate. Now, race teams don't just rely on the TV money for revenue. Obviously, they have their own sponsors that come in and bring revenue, and that's how they're able to help fund their race teams. And then there's also purse money that fits into this, but that's a relatively small piece of the overall pie. But needless to say, this has become a very highly discussed debate, I guess. I worded that weird. With several drivers, most notably Denny Hamlin, almost 2 years ago saying that he believes race teams should get more of that TV money so that they're not as reliant on outside sponsorships to stay afloat. Now, remember, I did a video a few weeks back where I compared driver salaries today to driver salaries from 10 years ago, and it's pretty obvious that the top drivers in NASCAR today are, for the most part, not earning quite as much as they did 10 years ago. That's even with inflation and everything. And so this has raised the question from teams and drivers, should the teams and drivers get a larger portion of that, billions of dollars? And now it looks like their current agreement is starting to wind down, and we're about to enter a 3 or 4 year period of a new agreement that NASCAR and the race teams and everybody are going to have to agree on. This is significant because here's the first opportunity now where NASCAR could decide to give the teams a larger portion. As Adam Stern puts in that tweet there, we'll see. Will the teams get a larger share of that TV revenue? Time will tell. A lot of people criticize the charter system because it really has not worked in this modern era of NASCAR with the way money is, as well as the 4-car limit for all race teams. Like back in the day, teams could have 5, 6 race cars. Nowadays, Joe Gibbs, Hendrick, they're limited to only 4 cars, and I think this day and age, a lot of people would like to see that rule go away as well. The only concern I'd have about getting rid of the 4-car rule is that certain big teams like the aforementioned Joe Gibbs and Hendrick Motorsports, the big teams will just continue to get bigger, You gotta spend money to make money, and nobody's better at spending money in NASCAR than the teams like Penske, Joe Gibbs, Stuart Haas, etc. So it might force some of the little teams to the back burner eventually, but this day and age, I feel like NASCAR needs more competitive cars, so if Joe Gibbs, Hendrick Motorsports want to spend more money, I'd say let them, but that's just me. I think that rule could definitely be tweaked. I think the charter system definitely is flawed for this modern era of NASCAR, but it'll be really interesting. They could make a big stride here if they do alter the revenue distribution with this new deal that they have to sign to go in place in 2021. A lot of changes around NASCAR these days, behind the scenes, on track, all that type of stuff. But anyway, that's the big news story I wanted to hit on today and talk about a little bit, but now I want to have some fun. I want to, I guess, kind of roast myself in some ways. I'm going to look back at a video I made, I believe I uploaded it February 8th. of this year. So before Daytona, before the Clash, pretty much before anything happened this year. And in that video, I predicted the 16 drivers I thought would make the playoffs. I also predicted the championship 4 and who I thought the champion would be. I figured we could look at some of that today and I don't know, compare the current playoff grid to what my predictions were and see how right or how wrong I was. I was a little bit of both. A lot of you guys in the comments have been asking for this one, so let's have some fun today. To start with, here is the current playoff grid, the current 16 drivers. I'm not putting their points up here. Here's how they're ranked. I put Ryan Newman there at 17th because he and Jimmy Johnson are technically tied for that last playoff spot, but Jimmy owns the tiebreaker. I'm not exactly sure how they calculate that, but that's the current top 17. Kyle Busch with the most wins is at the top of the playoff grid. Martin Truex Jr. and all them as well are up there. And now if we flash back to that video from 6 months ago, oh my gosh, the beard mustache was not grown in at all. Wow. But if we look there on the side, those are the 16 drivers I had making the playoffs. So let's go and pull up this graphic right here so we can compare my predictions and the real thing side by side. Yeah, you can see my predictions. Some right, some pretty wrong. We'll talk about these in a moment. I had Kyle Busch kind of being the #1 seed going into the playoffs, and right now that is looking correct. But I also had some pretty big misses. One name you'll notice that's not on my grid right there is William Byron. Over here, he's having a very solid season, a huge turnaround from his rookie year. I did not expect William Byron to go from 23rd in points to 12th. I thought he might go at like 18th or 19th in points, but that wasn't good enough to make it on my list here. I did not expect the turnaround he's had, so I got William Byron's pretty wrong. But anyway, let me pull up this now. I can kind of point out some of the ones I got right and some of the notable ones I got very wrong here. Yeah, you can see I got the Kyle Busch one right for now, so I feel pretty good about that. Clint Bowyer, I got that one pretty wrong. You can see I thought he'd be, top 8 contender. I thought he'd probably have a win by now. Instead, he is right there near that cut line. So Bowyer and Stewart-Haas Racing in general has not performed quite as well as I thought they would. So yeah, I have Bowyer a lot higher than he really is. And now Kurt Busch there is one that I actually underestimated, but I'm sure quite a few people probably underestimated Kurt Busch driving the one car this year, which a car that did not make the playoffs at all last year, was never in contention. I thought he'd sneak in. I thought he'd sneak into the playoffs. I did not expect him to have a win already, be up 8th in points, consistent the way he's been. I did not expect Kurt Busch to have turned that team around the way he has. So I got Kurt Busch kind of wrong. I still had him making the playoffs, but I did not expect him to be this competitive. And then you notice William Byron, I didn't think he'd make the playoffs at all. He's not even on my list, so that one I got that one pretty wrong. That one, I don't know. I'm happy for him. I'm happy to see William Byron making strides. I thought Chad Knaus would help him get a little better. I did not expect him to be winning as many pole awards as he has or running as well. Byron's impressed me this year as much as pretty much anyone. A lot of the guys in the middle there I got pretty close to right. Eric Almirola, Ryan Blaney, Eric Jones, I have that one highlighted. That's about where, I got my predictions pretty close to right. Alex Bowman as well. And then you can see right down there, Austin Dillon and Daniel Suarez. I had them both sneaking into the playoffs. Austin Dillon, I know he won a race last year to make it into the playoffs, but he ran competitive towards the end of the season. I thought Austin Dillon would show up this year and maybe point his way into the top 16. This has been a bad year for Richard Childress Racing. So I got that one pretty wrong. And then Daniel Suarez, for most of this year, I was looking pretty good on my Suarez prediction. He was consistently around 12th, 13th in the points for pretty much the first half of this season. But this summer, he has slid and slid and slid. Now he's 18th in points, 23 points out. You can see Daniel Suarez not even on this list right here. That's how he's not even in the top 17. Things don't look great for Suarez, so right now I'm not feeling as good about that prediction either, which is, I don't know, I guess I just didn't anticipate Stewart-Haas Racing being not as good as they are this year. And then another one, I have it highlighted in green, even though I'm not exactly right with this prediction, Jimmy Johnson. I said at the beginning of the year that Jimmy Johnson would miss the playoffs. I had him coming in a close 17th. Right now he's currently technically in the playoffs, 16th, but he's tied with Ryan Newman, and up until this last weekend's race at Watkins Glen, he was outside the top 17, so I can't say I'm convinced he's definitely going to make the playoffs at this point. I think there's a very good shot Jimmy still misses the playoffs this year. So I'm going to say that I'm at least on the bubble. I'm pretty close to getting that one right as well. A lot of people call me a Jimmy Johnson hater. I'm not a Jimmy Johnson hater. Look, I have a Jimmy Johnson hat. See, I supported him. I bought his merchandise. This really clashes with my outfit though, but anyway, I like Jimmy Johnson, guys. I don't want to hate on him. I respect everything he's done for the sport. I respect his incredible career. He just doesn't have it anymore. And crew chief turnover, part of the reason I had him missing the playoffs in my initial predictions is because, he's working with a rookie crew chief that didn't have any Cup Series experience. And now here we are midway through the season and he swapped crew chiefs again with another guy who doesn't have any Cup Series crew chiefing experience. I just don't know how to feel about Jimmy Johnson. I really don't think that team really has it figured out. He's the 4th best of the 4 Hendrick cars, and that's just not Jimmy Johnson. That's just not Jimmy Johnson. So we'll see, obviously, if he can still stay in that top 16 and maybe move up a spot. But I picked him missing the playoffs, and he's very close to doing that right now. Again, he is tied with Newman, technically. So that's all kind of crazy. Anyway, let's fast forward, or actually, let's flash back again to that video from February 8th, where I picked my championship 4. again with the bad facial hair. What you gonna do? You can't grow a beard overnight. But there you see my championship 4, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, and Brad Keselowski. Oh man, I also missed that old backdrop, man. This was a fun setup. I hope I can get something like this back again soon. But yeah, looking at those championship 4 picks or predictions that I made way back in February, the only one I'd probably stick with now would be Kyle Busch. I don't really know about Kevin Harvick. I don't really know about Brad Keselowski. And I know he just won at Watkins Glen, but I'm still skeptical about Chase Elliott. If I was to make a new championship 4, I'm sorry guys, but there'd probably be a couple more Toyotas in there. Kyle Busch stays in easily. He's now the regular season points leader again. Second, I gotta put Martin Truex Jr. in there, man. I knew that they'd be good this year, but with his first year with actual Joe Gibbs Racing, I thought there might be they'd be slow out of the gate, but they really weren't. They were tied with Busch for the most wins right now. So yeah, Martin Truex Jr., I think he makes it in there. Denny Hamlin, if you look at that last chart again, I kind of underestimated Denny Hamlin as well. I thought he'd be decent. I didn't expect 3 wins or however many he has already. I expected maybe 1 or 2 at best. I didn't think Hamlin was going to have that great of a year. He looks like a championship contender. Third again this week at Watkins Glen. So I think Denny Hamlin, you got to put him up in there. I'm not going to go in all 4 Joe Gibbs Racing championship 4. Eric Jones has been solid, especially lately. He's been very good, but I don't see Jones making it to Homestead. I'm not that crazy, y'all. But in that 4th spot, I would consider Kevin Harvick, and I'd consider Chase Elliott, and I'd consider Brad Keselowski. I think those guys probably make it into the round of 8. But if I had to pick a 4th guy, I'd probably go with Joey Logano at this point. He doesn't have as many wins as the Joe Gibbs guys, but he's been as consistent as pretty much anybody. He and Kyle Busch have been back and forth for the regular season points lead. So Joey Logano, I have a feeling he will be consistent enough to at least make it into Homestead and make things interesting. But yeah, the way the season's gone, it's kind of been a Toyota type of year. We'll see though. Obviously, there's a lot that can happen. The playoffs have proven to be very unpredictable with the way the knockout rounds work, with the way playoff points transfer and everything. There's a lot of stuff that could go wrong or right for people we're talking about today. But let me know what you guys think down below. Who would be your championship 4 picks right now? What do you think about my February predictions? Yeah, I don't know. I really thought Kevin Harvick would have several wins by now. I didn't expect him to only have 1 at this point. I'm not going to show it, but my actual championship pick in that video in February was Chase Elliott. Now, Chase Elliott, I'm not going to rule that out entirely. He does have 2 wins this year, and he's been... I can't really say he's been consistent, actually. He has not been consistent this summer. He's been kind of lousy, actually. But I do think Hendrick Motorsports is better than they were last year, so there's that. Again, I probably wouldn't pick Chase Elliott as my champion right now either. I'd probably go Martin Truex Jr. For my championship pick if I had to make it right here, right now, today. And I didn't even have Truex in my championship 4 6 months ago, whenever I made this. So, yeah, predictions, I don't know. I think my predictions a little rocky, especially when it came to the championship 4. Playoff predictions, I thought I got pretty well. Whiffed on Austin Dillon and Daniel Suarez a little bit. I thought they'd be better than they ended up being. And also missed on William Byron. I did not expect the turnaround he's had this year. But other than that, felt like my predictions from February weren't too awful. Thought they were in the ballpark for the most part. Let me know what you guys think. What are your predictions currently? Who is your championship pick? I know it's still early. We're still, goodness me, like 4 months or so from the championship race. But these playoffs, they're going to whiz by. Got 4 races until the playoffs start, and it's going to be crazy. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it a ton. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram to continue the conversation over there. And a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Michael Harrison, at You As The Stars, Mentally Defective, Cameron, James, John Koblenz, Jason Arlong, Wesley Donaldson, Isaac Dennison, Mika Suzuki, iFantasyRace.com, TheRacingInsiders.com, Pepe Luscious, Matthew Koulopoulos, Jeremy Conklin, Emilio Garcia, Joey DiMicino, and the rest of these incredible Patreon supporters. I couldn't do this show without you guys, but you already know that. I greatly appreciate it. I have a special guest coming on Out of the Group later next week. Landon Castle will join the show for a short interview. I'm excited to talk to Landon. I'm excited to talk to him about Bristol, about his season, about his crazy journey in his career, and what he thinks about the current state of NASCAR. And this show is becoming a lot more legitimate thanks to the support I get from those of you watching, but especially those of you on Patreon. So thank you all a ton. But anyway, y'all, hope you guys are excited for that. I really am too. Got a lot of great things, exciting things in the works that I will have news for you very, very shortly. Thanks for watching, everyone. See y'all again very, very soon. Bye-bye.